Ghost of Tsushima is a great game, but it's not a stealth game. Or rather, it's not designed to be. In this video, I'm gonna explore the design choices made by Suckerpunch in the creation of Ghost of Tsushima's core gameplay loop and explain how those design choices encourage a playstyle where stealth is only one piece of the puzzle. First of all, if you're new here, go ahead and click subscribe and hit that bell to get notified when I upload new videos. Before I get into the details of Ghost game design, we need to talk about how games encourage player behavior. This is a topic that deserves a long video of its own, but to put it simply, in game design, each gameplay element should be deliberately designed to promote a certain gameplay experience. If you want a fast-paced game with lots of action, gameplay elements should encourage risky moves. If you want a slow, tactical experience, the opposite is true. Games are interactive experiences, meaning they let the player make choices, even if those choices only come down to which enemy to shoot in the face first. Since different games are designed to be fun in different ways, it's on the game designers to show the players how to enjoy the game. They need to design the game to encourage the kind of player behavior that will give the player the best experience. For the purposes of this video, we can say that there are basically three ways to encourage a certain player behavior. You can make it more effective, you can make it more fun, or you can make it more rewarding. Effective behavior means it's easier to play the game that way. If you want the player to pick a certain strategy, weapon, or path over another, you make it more effective than the other options. For example, Ghost of Tsushima's design encourages you to wear armor. This might seem stupidly obvious, but what if armor had been designed so that wearing it slowed Jin's ability to dodge attacks? You would then have to choose between wearing heavy armor to reduce damage from incoming hits, or wearing light or no armor to increase your chances of dodging attacks. Instead, Ghost gives you many different types of armor which all have their own unique advantages over the others, encouraging you to switch armor as the need arises to suit your playstyle. Fun behavior is basically what it sounds like. If something is fun to do, players will do it. As I'll show later, Ghost's combat system is designed to be fun. That's not as obvious as it sounds actually, because there are games where open combat is not meant to be fun. In Metal Gear Solid, combat is a punishment for failing stealth. It's a visceral experience that can be satisfying in many ways, but it's not designed to be fun. Rewarding behavior means that, on average, doing this stuff is gonna give you better rewards in terms of in-game resources, progression, or achievements. Ghost of Tsushima's Perfect Parry is a great example of this type of design. Perfect parries require the player to tap the block button at the exact moment an enemy's attack lands, which is much harder than holding the block button down or dodging the attack. But perfect parries are super rewarding. If you get the timing right, you'll land a powerful blow, and you get a dose of resolve you can use for healing or special techniques. There's a lot to do on Tsushima, but the core gameplay loop is basically about liberating territories occupied by the Mongols. To do that, you need to use some combination of stealth and combat to defeat Jin's enemies. Ghost's level design is structured a lot like any typical stealth game, but there are some key differences. From a stealth perspective, Mongol territories are built kinda like a real-time puzzle with moving pieces, that is, enemy soldiers, that need to be removed from the board one by one without alerting the others. If an enemy spots Jin or sees him kill another soldier, stealth will be broken and the game switches seamlessly into combat. Through patient observation and clever use of your tools and the environment, Mongol territories can be liberated without ever raising the alarm. For the most part, it's perfectly possible to play the game this way, and it can be a lot of fun, but it's not what Ghost was designed for. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a game designed to encourage perfect stealth. Ghost of Tsushima isn't like that. Instead, Ghost encourages the player to live the fantasy of the Ghost, a perfect hybrid of warrior and assassin. The first clue to Ghost of Tsushima's design philosophy can be seen in the structure of its skill tree. When the game first opens up and you get access to the world map and the techniques menu, it's like walking into a brunch buffet at a fancy hotel. There's so much delicious shit to eat and you can only eat so much and, well, you get the analogy, right? Ghost's skill tree has a lot of great choices and it's really hard to pick where to start. But here's the thing. As you progress through the game and unlock more techniques, you start to realize that it's not really a skill tree, it's a shopping list. That's because unless you're one of those early reviewers who rushed the game's main story and, well, I don't know, took bathroom breaks during cutscenes and then claimed the game is 20 hours long, By the time you reach the third and final act of the story, you'll already have earned more than enough points to unlock pretty much any technique you want. Plus, most techniques aren't heavily gated, meaning you don't have to commit super hard to any one branch of the skill tree to unlock the most powerful techniques. Many of the game's mechanics are designed to gently but persistently push the player towards a balanced playstyle that combines stealth and open combat. Just for starters, Mongol territories all have different bonus objectives, like getting headshots with the half-bow, killing enemies with kunai, or assassinating soldiers while they're distracted by firecrackers. Bonus objectives is a mechanic that encourages players to branch out and learn how to make use of tools and techniques they may not have tried yet. Perhaps the most important way the game's mechanics encourages a balanced playstyle is in how it handles detection and the consequences for failing stealth. Ghost of Tsushima has an unusually lenient detection system. Enemy soldiers take a fairly long time to spot you and they're pretty much deaf, so all you gotta worry about is staying out of their line of sight. Enemies can literally be in the room with you while you're murdering their buddies as long as their backs are turned to you and you're not in combat. Many actions that seem like they'd alert the whole camp to your presence still allow you to remain hidden. You can kill people with black powder bombs or fire flaming arrows or come into a room swinging your sword and still go back to stealth afterwards, as long as you get the job done quick enough. This seemed kinda weird to me at first, but once I understood the implications, I ended up actually kinda loving it. In fact, it led to what is kinda sorta maybe my favorite technique in the whole game. A little something I like to call surprise barbecue. For a stealth game, Ghost of Tsushima is also very forgiving about failing stealth. Even if you fuck up completely and get spotted, you have so many options for getting out of the situation. You can throw down a smoke bomb, you can disappear into a crawl space, or you can climb a roof. Worst case, you can always just run off into the woods, wait like 30 seconds and come back hidden, no questions asked. In Ghost of Tsushima, there aren't really any consequences for failing stealth. The game doesn't punish it because it wants you to leave stealth. I hate to keep referencing Metal Gear Solid all the time, but I just love those games, okay? So deal with it. And in the Metal Gear Solid series, for a multitude of reasons, all related to the game's design, stealth is always gonna be the more effective tactic. Combat is clunky and consumes more resources, and some encounters such as tanks and troop carriers can be extremely hard to take on. In Metal Gear Solid, combat is your punishment for failing stealth. I mean, obviously that does not apply to Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, since Jack is a one-man army. In Ghost of Tsushima, combat is always on the table. Combat looks cool, feels good, and is fun to do. In some ways, you can almost say that combat is more of a reward than a punishment. Jin is never outmatched. Sure, some enemies and encounters are tougher than others, but as long as you can dodge unblockable attacks, parry most of the rest, and get enough perfect parries and kills to earn a steady stream of resolve, you can pretty much keep going until Kingdom Come. One of the ways Ghost pushes the player to leave stealth and engage in combat is in how resolve is designed. Basically, resolve functions like a resource you get for playing well, killing enemies and performing perfect parries, mainly. Resolve is a pretty central gameplay element, but the interesting thing to me is how it can only be spent for combat things. Healing, reviving, and powerful combat maneuvers like Heavenly Strike and Death Dance. You don't need any of these if you're going for pure stealth. You'll build up plenty of resolve by killing enemies through stealth. So why aren't there any stealth techniques that use resolve in the game? It's because the game wants you to fight. Resolve is a bailout function you can use to fix problems that come up when you're in combat, whether you fail stealth or deliberately pick the fight. The longer you stay in stealth, the more resolve you'll build and the easier combat will get. But out of all of the gameplay mechanics in Ghost of Tsushima, the one that really embodies the intended playstyle is the game's signature move, Ghost Stance. Once you get to about the halfway point in the story, you unlock Ghost Stance, which, when activated, paralyzes all nearby enemies with terror and lets you cut down 3 enemies for free. Along with Ghost Stance, you also get the ability to slaughter enemy leaders, which means you can now assassinate every enemy in the game outside of duels. In theory, that opens up new opportunities for a perfect stealth playstyle, but in practice, that's not really what happens. To activate Ghost Stance, you gotta either slaughter an enemy leader or kill 7 ordinary enemies without taking damage. Getting 7 kills without taking damage can be done in combat, but it's certainly easier from stealth, and slaughtering an enemy leader is something you can only do from stealth. Ghost Dance is designed to encourage the player to use stealth to access it and then leave stealth to use it. That's because you've got no use for Ghost Dance when you're in stealth, and the moment you take damage, it's gone. So there's a real sense of FOMO while that meter is flashing. Now, to be fair, Ghost Dance can sort of be used as a poor man's chain assassination to take out 3 isolated enemies, but it's kinda clunky and it's hard to be sure how far its effects will reach. You never quite know if you'll still be in stealth after you kill those 3 soldiers. Ghost Dance is a versatile tool that can be used in many ways. It's a really cool design. But at the core, it's an ability that encourages players to follow Ghost of Tsushima's intended playstyle. The game's intended playstyle colors almost every design choice in Ghost of Tsushima. Not only is the game the most fun when you're mixing stealth and swordplay, but many of the ghost weapons are deliberately designed to support the balanced playstyle. Smoke bombs can give you an easy escape from combat if you mess up, or let you assassinate a tough opponent. Kunai can stagger enemies or give you a breather when you're surrounded or cornered. The half bow and longbow are great for stealth, but the concentration technique, which slows down time while you're aiming the bow, makes archery viable even in combat. These are all very deliberate design choices, and the point I'm trying to make is, the game doesn't want you to specialize in either stealth or combat. It wants you to be the total package. For me, the proof of concept of this game design came around the time I liberated a place called Furuta Village. It's not that Furuta Village did anything particularly different, it's really just another Mongol territory to liberate, but this is where I got the game. With most of the key weapons and techniques unlocked at this point and a good understanding of how the game worked, the village became the perfect playground in which to show off the game's intended playstyle. For the first time, I was the Ghost of Tsushima, the specter that brings death to my enemies both from the shadows or with blade drawn in broad daylight, stalking victims from the tall grass, sniping lookouts with the half bow, swinging from rooftops to watchtowers with the iron hook, tossing wind chimes to draw soldiers from cover and then dispatching them with a fatal leap, and when stealth failed, wading into battle with stance dancing and perfect parrying against multiple opponents. Oh my god! When the game clicks, there's such a flow. The environment, the ghost weapons, the swordplay, and the stealth. It all fit together like the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. This is when I knew this game was a winner. So if it wasn't obvious from this whole thing, I love stealth games. There's something so incredibly satisfying about playing out the power fantasy of being a trained killer stalking your prey from the shadows with an arsenal of weapons and tools at your disposal. I've been looking for the perfect ninja simulator ever since I first played Tenchu Stealth Assassins on the PS1, and I figured this might be it. In the end, Ghost of Tsushima wasn't the game I expected, but what it was is something truly amazing. As a pure stealth game, Ghost would be a mediocre title, but I don't know if I've ever played a game that makes you feel like such a badass more than Ghost of Tsushima. You're the ultimate stealth assassin, but you don't even need the shadows. If your enemies find you, they'll wish they hadn't. The level of carnage you can pull off when you've unlocked Jin's full arsenal and learned how to combine it into one terrible whirlwind of death is just insane. The terror of the ghost unleashed. As a result, the game's final battle is one of the best I've ever experienced. I'm excited to see where they take the franchise from here. Will we get to continue Jin's story, or will we have a new hero in another place? Will it be another samurai, or will the franchise go the way of Assassin's Creed, expanding the concept to other cultures and themes? What about a Ghost of series with different titles taking place on a whole bunch of different islands? Ghost of Oahu? Ghost of Santorini? The sky's the limit, guys. There's a lot of islands out there to liberate. You know, I gotta say, Ghost of Tsushima is the big surprise for me this year. I know, this game was super anticipated. But for me personally, I didn't know anything about Suckerpunch Productions, I've never played any of their other games, and I wasn't waiting for this one. But after seeing what they're capable of, Suckerpunch's games are gonna be auto-buy for me from this moment on. I did hear an interesting rumor though. I heard that you can actually activate Ghost Dance in real life if you click the subscribe button on my channel at exactly 5 seconds before the end of this video. I don't know guys, it's just a stupid rumor I heard, but hey, give it a shot if you like. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.